Thanksgiving morning begins in silence, but not the peaceful kind. It's the kind that feels scripted, like it's been rehearsed 1,000 times before. A silence you train yourself to accept so it doesn't swallow you whole. I sit at the edge of the bed in my high-rise apartment, 32 stories above a city that's always too loud to match how quiet I feel inside. Outside, the light is muted, grayish gold, filtering through the half-closed blinds like even the sun knows not to interrupt. There's a draft in the room. Or maybe it's just me. This apartment is technically mine, technically home, but I stopped calling it that months ago. Now it's just a drop pin, a place where my mail arrives and where the shadows don't ask questions. My name is Malcolm Ray. I'm 38. I make $180,000 a year as a senior analyst at a biotech firm. On paper, I'm a success story. My job title impresses people. My LinkedIn profile looks pristine. But the truth? My life is a drawer full of unused vacation days and a fridge with 1 bottle of wine, 2 yogurts, and nothing that remotely resembles Thanksgiving. My phone buzzes, a group text from Maya's family. Her mother's already sending photos of the Palm Beach suite, gold napkins, crystal vases, all funded, of course, by Douglas Vance, my billionaire father-in-law and professional puppeteer. I glance at the open suitcase on the bench by the window. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of trousers, loafers, and a book I won't read. I always pack light. I've learned not to over-prepare for places I don't belong. It just makes the exile feel heavier. Maya, meanwhile, probably started packing last week. Coordinated outfits, planned photo ops, staged candids for her followers. That's who she is, curated chaos. Loud in the way that gets brand deals and pity likes. She lives for the spotlight. I live in the shadows. I thrive in the quiet, where people don't perform for cameras. I look up at the wedding photo still hanging above the dresser. I'd stopped noticing it months ago, but today, I do. Today, I see how Maya isn't even looking at me in the frame. Her face is turned to the lens, chin lifted, eyes gleaming like she's starring in her own ad campaign. I'm beside her, grinning like a fool, clinging to vows only I took seriously. That photo was a warning, one of many. My phone buzzes again, a selfie. Maya's already in Florida, posing in a white bikini. Caption: Breakers, here we come. No we, no mention of me, just another solo act in a show I've been funding from the wings. I zip the suitcase. The sound slices through the quiet. My tie still hangs by the door. I grab it, just in case. It's not armor, not really, but it's what I've always worn to those family events. Pressed shirts, polite knots, polished silence. As I pull on my coat, I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The gray in my beard is starker today. My eyes are tired, but focused. Beneath it all, something stirs. Not anger, not sadness, readiness. The kind of stillness right before glass shatters. I lean in, not to fix my hair, but to finally say the words I've rehearsed a dozen times. Out loud. For me. No more pretending. My voice is low, steady, unfamiliar, but stronger. I grab the car service receipt, check the flight, shoulder my bag. One last look at the apartment. It always looks cleaner when I'm about to leave, as if it's relieved to be rid of me. The hallway outside hums with early morning stillness. I press the elevator button. The stainless steel doors part. I step inside. Palm Beach. The Breakers looks exactly the same. Gaudy, flawless, buzzing with a kind of wealth that drowns humility in gold trim and marble floors. I walk in, suitcase in hand, Florida heat still clinging to my collar. A pianist plays something forgettable in the corner. Champagne flutes clink. Everyone's sun-kissed by 11 a.m. At the concierge, I speak clearly, calmly. Reservation for Malcolm Ray, I say, placing my ID on the counter. The man types, brows furrowing. I'm sorry, sir. There's nothing under that name. I nod, not surprised. Check under Vance, I say. Maya Vance Ray. More typing. Slower now, like reverence might change the facts. I have 3 guests under Vance, he says. Miss Maya Vance Ray, Mr. Marcus Langdon, and Mr. Julian Kane. I blink. No explosion. Just a spreading cold, like someone turned off the faucet inside me. Then I hear her, heels clicking like punctuation across the marble floor. "Oh, Malcolm, you came!" I don't turn. I already know the script. Her voice is syrup sweet. Performative. I face her anyway. She's in a designer wrap, sunglasses on indoors, cocktail in hand. The entourage follows. Marcus, the has-been investor. Julian, the rented Tesla influencer. She beams. I only reserved rooms for my real love, Marcus, Julian, and me. The concierge shifts uncomfortably. The pianist misses a note. A child breaks something glassy nearby. I stare at her, not the smirk, not the outfit, but the eyes. Cold, gleeful, calculated. I think about every slight, every smug toast, every dig I let slide, and I say nothing. No scene, no performance. I turn, lift my suitcase, walk out. Not rushed, not ashamed, just done. Aftermath. Outside, the Florida sun hits me hard. I don't look back. Dignity isn't loud. It doesn't need an audience. I hail a cab. The driver asks, "Airport?" I pause. "Just drive." In the mirror, I see her one last time. Smug, cocktail raised, flanked by her trophies. Let her have it. The real show hasn't even started. The taxi hums along the coast. Gentle jazz plays. I don't hear it. What I feel isn't rage. It's clarity. At a stoplight, I pull out my phone. One-way ticket. Chicago. Booked in under a minute. Then I scroll to her name. Miriam Poe, divorce attorney. She answers on the second ring. "Miriam, it's time." She doesn't ask. She just says, "I'll start the paperwork today." Return. The flight is uneventful. The seat is mine. The silence is mine. Chicago greets me with wind that feels like truth. I step into my building. The cold slips past my collar. I don't flinch. Not happy. Not yet. But free. And sometimes, that's better. This reads like the climax of a sharp, emotionally rich psychological drama, part revenge tale, part corporate power shift, and part personal reckoning. The voice is cold and deliberate, with an undercurrent of long-restrained fury that makes the unfolding events feel both inevitable and earned. Highlights of what works exceptionally well. Tone and pacing. The rhythm builds steadily, mirroring the protagonist's internal transition from betrayal to control. There's a measured quietness that makes his actions feel more threatening than any outburst would. Characterization. Malcolm's transformation from passive insider to calculated executor is layered and believable. Maya, Cassandra, and even secondary characters like Julian and Marcus are sketched vividly through brief but effective interactions. Theme of control. The narrative is steeped in questions of power, identity, and facade. You've made control not just a legal or financial state, but a psychological one. If you're open to refinement, here are a few considerations. Paragraph breaks. Currently, the story is presented in one massive block of text. Breaking it up into paragraphs would improve readability and enhance dramatic beats. This is especially important in a story that relies heavily on timing and internal monologue. Polish for rhythm. A few lines could benefit from small edits to improve flow. For example, "Like velvet dipped in arsenic" is wonderfully descriptive, but might land harder if offset from the rest of the sentence. Coward. A man who couldn't even own his complicity. Consider capitalizing A to maintain consistency or emphasizing the break for impact. This reads like a powerful monologue from a novel or screenplay, a story of quiet vengeance, personal transformation, and the unraveling of curated identity. The narrator's tone is calm, introspective, and resolute, chronicling the fall of an influencer wife and the subtle but devastating shift in power dynamics between them. The emotional arc is clear, from being humiliated and sidelined to reclaiming agency through silence, measured action, and integrity. There's no cheap triumph here, just a haunting sense of inevitability. The social media implosion, the leaked footage, the familial betrayal, all act as poetic justice, not just for the narrator, but for a wider commentary on appearances versus reality. If you're sharing this for feedback or development, it's impressively layered, emotional, social, psychological. Consider paring back the repetition of certain metaphors, e.g., burning, fallout, cracks, to enhance impact. Structurally, this could be broken into chaptered beats if you're aiming for a novel format. I was starting to see it clearly now, the truth I'd ignored for too long. I'd been living in a house of cards. I didn't know it then, and honestly, I hadn't cared to. But what mattered now was simple. I had my life back, my peace, something I hadn't felt in years. I crossed the apartment, poured myself another scotch, and sat by the window. Snow had started to fall again, light at first just a soft dusting over the city. The world outside looked smaller, quieter, manageable. I sipped slowly, warmth spreading through me. I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad, I was something rarer, content. The kind of contentment that comes from walking away from a life you once thought you needed, only to realize you never did. Then came the buzz, the phone, a text from Maya. "I think I finally see you." "I'm sorry I didn't before." I didn't reply. The silence between us had grown into something vast. It wasn't just the absence of her voice. It was the space between who we were and who we'd become. I wasn't going to bridge that. I wasn't going to rebuild ruins. She had already done enough damage. To herself. To us. And I was done patching the cracks. I set the phone down and stared out at the snow-covered city. A storm was coming. I could feel it, the weight of it thickening the air. But this time, it wasn't mine to weather. First came the email. Then the formal call. Then the driver. Everything wrapped in that familiar Vance polish. Efficiency, protocol, urgency. It was Cassandra, of course, Maya's mother, the woman who used to call me Malcolm dear while slicing compliments sharper than ice. She wanted a meeting, not Maya, the family, which meant Douglas and whatever board members hadn't yet jumped ship from the golden image now crumbling around them. I didn't respond at first. Let the request sit. Power, I'd learned, wasn't always in action. Sometimes it was in the pause. But I did go, not for closure, not for them. I wanted to witness the unraveling with my own eyes. The Vance. Estate hadn't changed. Symmetrical, gated, too pristine, to be honest. As the car pulled in, I could already see their silhouettes inside. Cassandra, Douglas, 2 board members, waiting like it was a negotiation, not a reckoning. I walked. In, no pleasantries, no smiles, just a nod to the butler who'd ignored me at every holiday dinner. Cassandra, as always, spoke first. "Thank you for coming, Malcolm." Her voice was smooth, restrained, like we were sipping wine, not dragging skeletons into the room. Douglas sat by the fire, wrapped in wool, eyes dim but aware. For a flicker, he looked like he remembered me, remembered what they'd all done. "There's been confusion," Cassandra said. "Missteps. But the family wants to make things right." I looked at her, expressionless. "Which part of the family? The one that laughed while Maya tore me down, or the one that called me lucky to be tolerated at your table?" That landed. One of the board members coughed. Douglas didn't move. "We understand there were oversights," Cassandra offered, as if betrayal had too many syllables. Maya is not well. She's unraveling. This isn't who she truly is. I raised an eyebrow. And now it matters? She blinked. She's afraid. She's finally alone. There it was, the honesty behind the pearls. Douglas stirred, slightly, and muttered, "I told her this would happen. I told all of you." "She needs help, Malcolm," Cassandra said, the mask slipping. "You were always the calm one. Talk to her. Bring her back." I stared at them. These were the same people who had watched me endure years of Maya's storms, her tantrums dressed as empowerment, her cruelty passed off as charm. They let me carry her chaos because it was convenient. Now that she had taken their name through the digital gutter, now that sponsors had bailed and headlines had turned, now they remembered me. I folded my hands. "Let me ask you something," I said. "Where was this concern when I sat alone in that hotel lobby while your daughter declared her love for someone else in front of a crowd? Where was this urgency when I walked away?" Silence. "I was alone," I said, softer now. "None of you cared." I stood. "She'll survive. She's always landed on her feet. But this redemption you're hoping I'll hand her, it's not mine to give. It's hers to earn." I turned to leave. "Malcolm," Douglas said, voice gravel and regret. I looked back. "You did what I never could," he said. "You walked away before they ruined you." I nodded once. Then I left. The ride back was quiet. I didn't check my phone, didn't answer the flood of emails from Arthur or the PR team. I needed the stillness, the clarity. That night, another voicemail waited. Maya. I almost deleted it, but didn't. I turned off every light except the one by the window, sat down, and hit play. No panic, no tears. "Hey, I know you won't call back. I don't even know if you'll listen. But I wanted to say, I see it now. I see how loud I had to be to hide how scared I was. I treated you like a lifeline, not a person. And I'm sorry. I finally see you." A pause. "Thank you for the way you loved me, even when I didn't deserve it." Silence. And I didn't respond, because sometimes silence is the only answer. 3 months passed. Chicago thawed. The lake cracked and shifted, mirroring my own slow transformation. I still drank my coffee black. Still walked to work, head bowed to the wind. But I was different. Maya vanished from the public eye. No posts, no press. The blue checkmark by her name remained, but the noise had moved on. New scandal, new face, new spectacle. Her silence wasn't strategic. It was surrender. Still, I didn't respond. The Vance Foundation flourished under my leadership. I removed every figurehead Maya had installed, replaced them with community. Leaders, scientists, advocates. I launched a mentorship initiative, small at first, for young men of color in biotech. I called it Fixed Points, a name that meant something only to me, because I had none for so long, and now I could help. Others find theirs. They offered me a permanent executive title. I declined. I didn't need the title. I had the leverage. More importantly, I had peace, the kind that doesn't whisper, the kind that rings. I moved into a better apartment, less space, more light. No wedding photos, no closets of performative gifts, just hardwood floors, a bold blue rug I chose, and a kitchen I used. I learned how to cook again, played jazz at night, read novels I used to abandon halfway. I found myself. Then one morning a package arrived, cream paper, no return address. I recognized the handwriting, Douglas. Inside, a velvet box, pearl cufflinks, the ones he wore to board meetings, fundraisers, Maya's wedding. Tucked beneath, real power is quiet, real love is earned, no signature. I turned one cufflink over in my palm, the pearl catching morning light. It wasn't a gift. It was a message. Douglas had seen me. Maybe longer than I realized. Maybe he knew Maya wouldn't change. Maybe he hoped I could steer the ship. And when I wouldn't, when I didn't, he gave me the next best thing, his quiet approval. I didn't wear them. I didn't hide them. I placed them on my desk next to a photo of my parents, the ones who taught me dignity before wealth tried to erase it. The cufflinks weren't a trophy. They were a reminder. Walking away isn't weakness. Silence can be the loudest move. Weeks later, I passed Maya on the street. It was raining, that soft, uncertain spring kind. She looked up, coat tight, hair tucked in, no makeup, no cameras, just her. She didn't see me at first. When she did, she froze. I nodded once. She nodded back. And that was enough, because forgiveness isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's a glance in the rain, a shared silence between two people who've finally said everything they needed to. That night, I added one last line to the mentorship program's vision. Success isn't always visible. Sometimes it's in what you walk away from. I never spoke to Maya again. I didn't need to. She had her journey, and mine, finally, fully, was mine alone.